Well, hello friends. Welcome into another video. My goodness. I have a literal vat of steaming coffee here. I think you can see the steam coming out of it. That's why the lid is off. This mug holds 2 cups of coffee. At least my cups. This is my third one. Welcome to the contentment update. We're going to talk about all the things I bought and how I'm feeling, what's bringing contentment. We're going to get into all of the usual updates. I did put out a video 2-ish weeks ago now that talks about the things in my life that are bringing me contentment. So I'll link that in the cards. I want to say it's here, but it's probably here. I'll link that in the cards for you so you can watch it. And that video is all about the things in my life that are bringing me contentment, but they're also free. I want to preface this video by saying the contentment is freaking real, my guys. So we're going to drink our coffee and we're going to talk about all the things that I got. All right, so let's get into the update, or let's start talking about the items that I brought in. The first thing that came in April was a pair of shoes. These are a pair of black Converse. These are my gym shoes. These are for weightlifting, specifically like leg day. I am pretty big into weightlifting. And you need some flat shoes out there, and I'm not going to be one of those people who takes off my shoes and just is in socks at the gym. There's lots of different kinds of flat shoes out there, and I like the Converse. And also, one of the best things about it, I think this says a lot about my partner and I. We have matching shoes. I had this white pair of Converse that I was wearing for a couple months to the gym for leg day, and they've had their life. I mentioned it in a recent vlog on my second channel. They're donezo. They're gone. Like, they're ripped. They have holes in them. So I need a new pair of shoes. And so did my partner. And we're like, let's be that gross gym couple that matches. That was $65 plus tax, which is roughly like what, $71-ish dollars? Math is hard. So that was number one. The second thing that came in is like this purple jacket. It's my first jacket. I don't think there will be many more, and this was just like such a wardrobe experiment for me, and I've just really needed another coat of some kind. I think it's gonna be great for spring, summer. Yes, I wear coats in the summer. So that was $60.23. That was with tax. I'll show you a picture on the screen. I have been experimenting with it, so it's been fun to style it. It's a little bit looser. Fits sweaters underneath, so I think it's just a good layering piece for this spring. And I love the purple color. Like, I'm really loving the pastels for spring, but also I think a lot of us do enjoy pastel colors for spring, and I'm really enjoying lavender this year. You might have seen in previous videos I was talking about a trench coat. I couldn't find one. I mean, I could still look for one, and I kind of am. Not happening, and I was just kind of like in a desperate coat situation. The coat situation was desperate. And I saw it and I was like, I love that. I do think our closets should be filled with things that we love. And I just had such a visceral reaction to it. And I was so in love with it. I mean, I did wait. I didn't buy it that day. I waited at least a week. It could have been longer. Probably was. And I was like, you know what? I think this would be a really great choice for my wardrobe. And I've been really loving it. So next up, I'm just going to deal with like one of the big things on top. It wasn't the next thing I got. It was actually near the end of the month, but got a marker set, the classic washable markers from Crayola. I'm counting this as one item. How I'm qualifying things is a little bit wonky. If you want to qualify these as 50 things, go right ahead, because I have another set that I'm qualifying as 14 things, because I actually think, well, this is the other set. I'll put this down. I think we all know what this set looks like. This was $10. And then the other set that I got is an acrylic paint set. I've been into art journaling, and now that that's out of the way, let's go to the art journal. So I've been art journaling a lot the past month. April was the month of the art journal for me. So I did buy the journal, and I didn't buy any supplies at first. So I got this on April 4th, and it was $7.15. And I did some pages just using things that I have, and then I went out to Winners, which is like TJ Maxx or Marshalls, and I had a gift card, and I bought 2 things there with my gift card. The first is this acrylic paint set. I've been using this a lot. There, she is. And I've been learning about color mixing, which is, has a lot to do with color theory. And I painted that using this set. It was actually quite an experience. I have very little knowledge of color theory, or even I've had no real reasons to mix colors or learn what, putting a little bit of yellow in this does, or putting a little bit of green in this does. And that was just fun to figure out how to make colors that I like. And the colors on the board aren't exactly what I wanted, but I just like that experimenting process. So this is 14 things in, but I paid $0 for it because I used a gift card. And then the second thing I got was this watercolor set. It's definitely not a professional grade set. I do know a lot of the more professional ones are kind of like jelly, whereas these are the cakes, but they actually have a really great color payoff. And I've just been pleasantly surprised with my experience using this. And I've just been using the brush that it comes with. I was using this last night, so it's a little dirty. And I've been using it for a full month now, and I've created lots of different art things with it, paintings, that I actually think it might be good to get a little watercolor brush set. I think that would be something that I would use, and I feel like now I have a track record of using it, and it's a month and I haven't let it go, and I'm still interested in watercolor. Out of the two, acrylic and watercolors, I prefer watercolors. I've just been having so much fun, and it has really been an outlet for me, both of personal expression but also creativity and fun. For me, art journaling isn't about, or not just art journaling, but the arts, being creative, isn't about being good. It's about it being an outlet. And so I could care less as to what I think is good or not. There's some recent things in there. Just doing a little experimenting here. I actually really like the colors in here and how they have blended. I actually have been learning about different painting techniques, like wet on wet painting versus what happens when you start with the color on the page and then you add water, and how to make colors run and bleed together, but also how to layer colors. And that's been really fun too. So there is a very small skill component, or by skill I mean learning new techniques, but that is not really the focus. The watercolors, they were $6.99, I believe, and then I think the paint set was $5.99. Neither of them was over $7. This, even if it was $10, has probably been the best $7, $5, $6 that I've spent. But it was also with a gift card, so I didn't pay for it. And even my art journal, best freaking $7 I've spent this month. Next, I got a shower cap. Here she is. This one is from Eco Tools. So the shower cap was $9.95. Literally one day, I go and take a shower, put my shower cap on, and the elastic just gave out. From the last time I used it, from one time to another, it wasn't as though the elastic gradually faded over a month. It probably isn't as elasticy as it was when I first got it, but it was literally one day to the next, the elastic was done, it was gone. So I tried to use it as it was for a couple of weeks. I got the shower cap on April 17th, and so it went earlier in the month, really near the top of the month. So I was trying for about 2-ish weeks, and I was like, this is not working. It's not worth it. At first, I was a little disappointed because I thought this was another example of how I'm hard on my things. Hold on a second. 2 years ago was 2020. Even 3 years ago was 2019. It's older than that. I believe the shower cap I was using was 5 years old. And I'm sure people can make their shower caps go 10 years, maybe longer. But the fact that mine lasted 5 years feels fine to me. There's only so much you can do for your shower cap. I replaced it and it's working fine. It's working great. And I'm very happy to have a working shower cap back. I also got a new dish rack. The other one was, it was supposed to sit on top of a drying mat. The way that it was constructed, it wasn't supposed to, the bottom of the dish rack be completely sitting flush on the drying mat. It was supposed to be a little bit raised. It wasn't the case. And basically the drying mat was always wet and it just smelled. And the whole system just was not working and also looked very cheap. It was not holding the dishes right. I mean, it was cheap. Let's be honest. The drying mat, I could not for the life of me get the smell out. And it was affecting the dishes. And I was like, you know what? It's not worth it. I don't know what else to do. I feel like I've tried everything. It looks cheap as hell. It's not holding dishes the way I want. The reason why I broke the wine glass that I broke a couple months ago is because of the dish rack. I replaced it. It was $31.50 and it actually looks kind of cute. I mean, as cute as a dish rack can. It's not sitting on a dish mat anymore and has a mechanism that allows the water to filter back into the sink. And it's also like plasticky. So I think it's great and I'm loving it. I also got a couple of books. I bought 2 books and they're both Brené Brown books. I'll show you. Rising Strong and Gifts of Imperfection. I got Rising Strong from my library and I got it for the Contentment Challenge, but I had to return it before I was finished. And this was a book that really fell into one of the topics I had mentioned at the top of the year, are things that I wanted to spend money on that I normally haven't. And I'll talk more about that and, kind of explain that policy in just a little bit, because it goes into some of the themes of this month, some of the things that I've learned. I already was like halfway through this and I knew from it that I wouldn't get it back from the library for several weeks. My library has very few copies of Brené Brown books, but she's very popular. So all of the books have a waiting list on them. And I got these, I ordered them mid-month, but they came around the 22nd, I believe. I was reading this one here. And so I was thinking, okay, Shauna, you like what you read so far and you like it enough to know that there's things in here that I want to highlight. I want to write on the pages. I also believe this is a book that I will revisit, maybe not later this year or next year, but sometime in my life. I think this is a book that I would want to revisit. And also I want to finish it. And by the time that I get the book back will be at least 3 months from now. That'd be the absolute earliest I could get it. And that's if people pick up their holds on the very first day that they get it, no shipping times across the library. I was like, you know what? This is the exact kind of book that I want to get. And I felt the same way about Gifts of Imperfection. And I was hemming and hawing about this one. And I was like, maybe I'll get them one at a time. But this went on such a good deal that there's not even on Black Friday could this be at a better price. The best price was the price that I got it. So this one was $13. This one with tax was $20.28. With tax, believe this was $15-ish. I'm just really happy to own these books. And one of you, Katharina, when I set up my Buy Me a Coffee, I do actually want to take this opportunity to thank everybody who has bought me a coffee over the past couple of months and setting it up. Thank you so much for supporting this channel and the work that I do here. I really appreciate each and every one of you. And so Katharina, when she bought me a coffee, she bought me enough to pay for basically both of these. And what she was hoping, what she wanted the money to go for was towards a book, because I had mentioned that I wanted to buy books, but I'd kind of been feeling certain ways about that. And so she's like, here's the money to buy some books. And I used her money to buy 2 books. And I wanted to mention that. So thank you. The last couple of things, I got a lap desk. This was $32.50. I do a lot of work in bed. I do a lot of reading in bed, a lot of writing in bed. I do calligraphy in bed. I write in my journal in bed. I work in bed all the time. And I've been using my laptop to write on. It's a little awkward. And I used to own a lap desk. I got one maybe in 2010. Got one in high school sometime and used it all the way through university, but it actually broke. I had to have been close to a decade. Maybe not, maybe 8 years, 7 years, something of that nature. And it just broke. It was a very high quality, very comfortable lap desk, but it did break and I got rid of it a couple of years ago, not too long before I started my channel actually. And I've been missing it ever since. And since getting back into journaling, gratitude journaling, and doing calligraphy, all of these things, I've really missed it. And so I sat on it for a bit and got the lap desk, and I use it most days actually. The last two things, I got camera batteries. The camera battery I currently have, I just have one. It is like rechargeable. You don't have to take it out of the camera to charge it. You can charge the camera while it's plugged in. And one battery gets me about an hour's worth of footage. It takes me longer than that to film some of my videos. And so I'm constantly having to get an extension cord and plug it into my camera. I have to stop my videos and my train of thought. Whereas now, I can charge 3 batteries at a time. So I have 4 batteries now. And you might think that's overkill, but I have in individual days gone through all of my batteries. And what this is also, so this is good for videos where I'm filming multiple, but also if I'm vlogging or if I'm doing like an overhead shot video or a time lapse, you need a lot of footage to get that and also to like what you want to decide between. And so it was just annoying. This was $42 and I just, it's kind of game changing. I also bought a camera boom, or it's not a camera boom. I believe it's called a boom, but it goes onto your tripod and it's for those direct overhead shot videos. Let me tell you, some are coming your way soon. So that's everything I got this month. Now, if you count the markers as one thing and the paint as 14 things, I brought in 29 items this month with a cost of $361.91. Now I think it's time to talk about the stuff budget and if I want to revisit the goal. Because also we're now a full third of the way through the year. And so I have a more accurate idea of kind of how things are going. I had my goal of 200 things for the whole year. So if with that stuff budget in mind, this 1 month was 14.5% of the 200 things stuff budget. There's been like every month there's been a high quantity of items, like a tea set or a sock set, or in this case a paint set with 14 things. And if I counted the paint set as one thing, I would have had, I believe it's 16 things. There's always something like that has come in each month. And I did not expect that starting this project. I will be revising the goal. So in the first third of the year, I'm at 100 items. And that's just items in, that's not necessarily all items that I paid for myself. And that is 50% of my stuff budget in the first third of the year, which means that if I were to spend the same way for the rest of the year, I'd bring in about 300 things. I think that it might be good to, well, I'm going to change the goal. I'm going to move from 200, but I'm thinking, well, what if I revised it where if I spend the exact same way for the rest of the year, I'd reach 300, and that's not asking me to do anything. It's not asking me to stretch or push myself to do 300. So I'm thinking maybe 275. So if I do 275, I am asking myself to stretch a little bit. And I think that is a ballpark that I would be comfortable in. And so far this year, I have spent a total of $1,167.48 on stuff. Everything I've tracked so far this year, and I brought in 100 items. So at first I was thinking, wow, I spent almost $1,200 on stuff. This is a true moment of things accumulate. We hear that all the time, all the little purchases add up, and it's so true. We all know that. We all know that in the back of our minds, but I have never actually tracked my spending almost completely before. So I don't fully have a point of reference for how much I spent last year, the year before, how much it's changed. What I do feel like is true, what I do believe is that my spending is different than in the past, even last year, because one, I have bought no makeup this year. None. I haven't even bought skincare really. What? A deodorant, some soap. And when I'm looking at all the things that I bought, roughly $200 of these purchases were those 2 big tech items from last month. $100 from this month went to, some channel investments. But also a ton of the stuff on the list was gifts, things for the home, and just, I think, a consequence of moving. Let's not kid ourselves here. There are some for fun purchases here this month. I got the books and the art supplies. When I think about all the things that I have regretted in the past 4 months, 4-ish things, roughly 4 or 5 things, I don't have any regrets from this particular month. That's a question. Do you regret anything from this month? No. And I don't have any new takes from last month. Like, my opinions still hold. In the totality of things, there's nothing new that I regret. There's so much on here that are just replacements. Yes, we have those couple of regret purchases. We have a couple of expensive things. We also have a couple of for fun things on here. A lot of replacements too, even, my shower cap. And so when I actually am thinking about each individual item on the list, we say, I think part of me is like, wow, $1,100 or $1,200. And the other part of me looks at the breakdown. This is where I've come to notice a little bit of disconnect. And I want to talk about the disconnect now, because there is part of me that really wants to spend absolutely no money on anything ever. And that part of me went on the no buy. And I feel like the makeup no buy is great. And I did touch on this last month that I don't believe I can say I'm on a no buy for other things. But there is still that part of me that wants to spend no money. And then there's also that part of me that wants to spend money on things that matter, things that can, impact my happiness in day-to-day life, and, have replacements, but also have some fun art supplies that I'm actually using. And so there are most things I feel like, yes, they were worth buying, but then there's that other part of me, that no why part of me that's like, Shauna, you could have spent $0. Like, you didn't need to get these things. Okay, sure, I didn't need art supplies, but now this is the kind of conversation that's happening that's not really helpful, because if I just don't buy anything, then I also don't buy the things that help me do the activities that bring contentment or make life easier, like replacing some shoes, buying my lap desk, buying my hair thing. Could I have gone without them? Yes. But the last couple of times I was showering, I was just cursing because it was such a frustrating experience and my hair was getting wet. This is the disconnect that I'm talking about. And even another kind of layer to this is that at the very beginning of the year, I made a video of things that I want to be, conscious about buying. And the one example I said was books, that I use the library first. This has been true for my whole life, and I have opted to not buy books that I want to read, that I believe are for me, that I believe I would reread again, almost exclusively nonfiction. Haven't bought them, even though I think they'd be such a great fit, they'd be a great read, an important read, but haven't bought them because they weren't at my library, because I don't buy books. And I felt like that mindset was holding me back. So I said, if there's a book this year that I want to buy I want to buy it. I bought 2 books this year for roughly $35. That mindset of, I want to buy the things that make sense. I want to buy the things that help me be me, that help me be a better me, that bring contentment, but I also don't want to spend money. So I think that without reconciling these two things, there is constant disappointment. There's this constant feeling of you're not doing it well enough. Also guilt for spending money, and like constantly feeling like you're not measuring up to your expectations, because I've learned I have 2 different set of expectations that have not been reconciled. And the last couple of months, I've just been feeling disappointed, like, oh, I should have spent less money. I should have bought less things. But then when I look at the list, what wouldn't I have bought? If I were to do this month over again, or maybe I'm too close to this month, let's look at last month. If I were to do last month over again, what I would do differently would be to get the microwave and printer secondhand. I can't really change the fact that I, bought the shoes, the impulse kind of buy, they're $14. At most, I would have brought in one less thing, and I would have spent roughly $65 less. I'm not saying $65 is something to sneeze at, but if we just look at last month as an example, I would have just been one less thing down, and roughly $65 down, not $100 down or $200 or $300 down. there's opportunity to look at all of this data and say, I've noticed these trends to hopefully make better purchases. Or if I look at these things and I think back and it's like, wow, my spending is set on these days, or I spent a lot on these days. Or when I look back, I really don't feel like I considered my purchases. I don't really feel like that to be true, that I wasn't considering my purchases. So what I ultimately believe is that I set unrealistic expectations at the beginning of the year. There's gonna have to be some give and take there, right? And again, when I look at the 100 items and have maybe 5 things I regret buying, that feels really great. That majority of my purchases are things that I would stand by and things I would buy again. And for the ones that I maybe don't quite fit into the regret category, like my David's tea, I feel even stronger now, having more time pass from January. The David's tea is a luxury. And that's not something I really want to be spending, every couple of months, $45 or $50 on tea. That's not, David's tea is too much of a luxury for that. So I have learned so much by tracking all of my purchases, and what I think we're getting into the territory of having this opportunity to reflect has shown me some things. And here's what I've learned from this opportunity. What I was starting to talk on was about the time passing, and because I'm tracking everything, I get to go back in time and rethink the list. And I'm not a perfect person, and it's very likely that at the end of the year, there's going to be more purchases. I'm going to be like, you know what? After living my life for the past 6 months, 8 months, 12 months with this thing, and seeing how the rest of the month unfolded or year unfolded, and also seeing how I've used these things, I now think that this was not a good purchase. That's not something to be guilty about. Learning a lesson is not something to feel guilty about. And that is what this tracking has afforded me, is this privilege really of being able to go back and compare and think about how that item or all the items I bought that month, how they fit in with all the other things I bought, and what I think about that thing a month or months later or years later. This is very valuable and something that I'm very glad that I'm doing. And one of the things I want to do at the very end of the year is make a video talking about all of the products that I regret buying and the products that I've changed my mind about. I'm just very curious to know where I am at that. And also, I feel like I'm bringing the perspective, which I didn't see coming at the beginning of the year, is that it's kind of like that non-judgmental observing, where it's like, do I regret anything? If you do, that's fine. There's no real reason to feel guilty about it. If you did your best at the time to buy the right thing and something didn't work out in the long run. Every good purchase tells us something, and every bad purchase tells us something, and everything we change our mind about tells us something too. If we can learn from those categories without judging ourselves, I think we're just better off. And I didn't think that this would be a pivotal part of the product or something that I enjoyed doing, but I'm really glad that I'm having this opportunity. Like, it's really surprising me to think about these things, and also being able to be honest with myself to say, you know what, after a month, I think that just wasn't a great purchase. And then track that data, and then also every couple of months, look at what the regret purchases tell us. Are they all fashion purchases? Maybe for fashion, I need a higher threshold of days to wait before you buy something. And the next 2 points really fit together. One of the things I've learned is that this idea of, does this item, does this purchase, does this thing fit the spirit of the project, is a way better criteria for me than having strict rules, especially because you can't predict circumstance. If you were to ask me this question in 2020, my answer would be to, and I think this might have actually been an answer that I gave in one video, and the answer that I gave would be to test out your project, your rules for 30 days to see what pops up, because you want to, think about something for every circumstance. We have a rule for every circumstance. And so you want to have the least amount of surprises as possible. I have since changed my mind about that. I think that is a big waste of time. And the stricter your rules, or the stricter my rules, I feel like the harder I'll fall. And so thinking about, does this item fit the spirit of the project, the intent of the project? And that is just a more helpful criteria for me than saying, oh, you can have replacements only, no buy, and here are all the things that are exceptions and rules, whatever. And that goes into directly what I was just talking about a few moments ago about the expectations I had for this project. And I think what I had right at the beginning of the year is that this year, the focus should be on contentment over everything else. There's a certain logic to not buying things or to reducing the amount of things that you buy. So you can learn to be content with what you have. And I absolutely understand where I came from with that. For something like makeup, where I already have more than enough, like I have options for everything, there's not really a circumstance that I would be thrown into where I wouldn't have an option for. Or there's other things in life, like art, developing a new hobby, or reading, even fashion, been thrown into circumstances that I just don't have the clothes for and have gotten myself into a little bit of trouble. But makeup was an area that I was overbuying, and also an area that I genuinely did have enough. And it was like, you have to sort out the feelings of that disconnect of having enough but feeling like you don't, or always wanting to buy new things. So fashion no buy, I don't know how practical that is in everyday circumstances. I also understand the logic of the no buy of, what if I just put contentment first and then no buy second, where you won't buy anything if you're content with what you have, and you learn to do that. I've come to realize that that's not totally true. And the biggest eye-opener for me was the art supplies. I mean, I think I'm being annoying about it and I can't shut up about it. That is a category where I don't really have things there to paint. You know, what's $6.99 if you develop a hobby? Yes, I did art journal before I bought these things. Total, I've spent, let's say I paid for my paints, we'll say 18 plus 11, we'll call it $30. $30 on art supplies has gone a long way in my contentment, and quite frankly has been one of the most significant aspects of my life that has impacted my overall happiness, joy, and contentment with life, is doing art. Who the hell knew? And if I was on a strict no buy, I don't know that I would have experienced that. And I do stand by what I originally said, that sometimes something can be perfect for you, but if you don't have the money, you don't have the money. That there's probably lots of things that are perfect for us that we would love, but that doesn't mean we get to buy it. This is very much true. And that still stands above and beyond what I was just talking about in terms of buying things in the year of contentment. Another example I look at when it comes to how a thing can bring contentment is the headbands. I feel my most me when I'm wearing a headband. There's other parts of my style that make me feel the most me is a headband. And yes, I could run away with that and just buy oodles and oodles of headbands. But for me, having options of headbands makes sense because I wear a headband practically every day. There's something to be said about feeling like yourself in your own skin, or your most me. And a headband helps me do that, which sounds so weird that a thing can have such a big impact on my life and my happiness, but it is true. But I think this is the distinction. If we become obsessed with buying a thing or owning a thing, or have the joy be in buying the thing and acquiring the thing and owning the thing, getting joy or fulfillment out of shopping. But if the joy is about what the thing can do for you, like being a tool to do a trade, then it's not about buying the thing, and it's also not about putting your happiness on a thing, but it's about what the thing can enable you to do. And I think that the perfect example is the art. I do need art supplies to do art, but it's not about the supplies. What brings the contentment is not the supplies. It's the act of doing. When it comes to the headband, yes, I think they're pretty and they're beautiful, but what brings the contentment is making me feel like my most me, and we do need stuff to do that. Quite frankly, I'm just being 100% honest here. My life without art is not the same with my life with art. There is a dramatic difference in happiness. So yes, this stuff makes me happy because I can do things. I hope that distinction is clear. What I also find very interesting, and what I've really learned, and I've been talking with my friend Rita about this, is that with my makeup, I genuinely feel content. I feel like I am there. By that, I mean my mindset with makeup has changed. I'm not looking for new releases. I could care less what's new and hot on the market. Yes, I love a good blush. I really do. But I no longer believe that I need to go buy more blush. I have been able to find joy in what I have and enjoy the process of using it, and also playing with the breadth of my colors and formulas and textures. My mindset has shifted so dramatically since maybe 6 months ago. I don't covet things because I have enough. Like I feel like I have enough. There is no rush. I need to go buy it now. And when I heard about the Embryolisse primer, part of me was like, oh yeah, I think that would be good. And I went to go research where I could buy it and how much it was if I wanted to spend that money, etc. But it was just like, okay, this would be nice, but maybe not now. I already have what I need now. Maybe when I get down to my primers, or maybe once I have 1 or 2 primers left, then maybe I'll buy it at that time. This is such a dramatically different mindset than 6 months ago or even a year ago. When I first went on my no buy in 2020, I struggled to not buy things and bought things for my birthday. And I think now that is very much a breaking the no buy. I bought some Tower 28 glosses, I believe, or Kosas glosses, something like that. And I straight up broke my no buy. Now I'm like, I have all the makeup I could ever want, even more. So I really believe I'm there with the makeup. If there's ever a time in the future, because listen, y'all, life is long, hopefully. I can't guarantee that I'll feel this way 10 years from now. But what I can say is that I don't feel like this is temporary. I feel like I've genuinely shifted my mindset and my perspective. And I also have strategies to use if I ever feel like, okay, things are out of control again, or I don't know, Shopee spending, I don't feel like I have things under control. I have tools at my disposal to deal with that. And I just feel so logical about things, so in control of my behavior. The way that I think through the purchase is what I think has changed the most. Now, even in the height of wanting something, I can think about, what do I have already? Do I have something similar? How much of this category do I already have? And it doesn't matter how much I want it. And I'm going to continue on the makeup no buy for the rest of the year, but it's feeling actually kind of easy now because of these big changes. And I'm very proud. I'm just feeling, I'm honestly right now, where I'm at right now, I feel like is leaps and bounds of where I was in March, 2 months ago. Not my March update, but an actual March, 2-ish months ago. I feel like a happier person. I feel like a more content person. I feel more me. And I found things that are helping me feel like and be like my most me self. And there was a moment that happened right at the end of April. And I was talking to my partner about a particular video that I was doing. It's already up. And I was telling him how I feel like I'm coming into myself and believing in myself, and that I can do these things, and that I can pivot careers, and I can make different choices. I just started crying because I'm getting emotional now here too, because there's something so powerful in feeling like your most self, feeling at home in yourself. And I don't just mean your body, but I mean who you are as a person. And it was a moment where I feel like me. I feel like I'm becoming the person who I want to be. I'm genuinely in the middle of figuring out the life I want to live that makes me content. And there's areas where I am content. There's other areas where maybe not so much, or I'm trying to figure it out. And that whole process isn't scary or daunting anymore because I'm already there. Like, I'm already content in so many ways. And it's transformed my personhood. where the contentment is making me feel like my most self. And I kind of can't believe it. That's the video. I would love to know what's making you content right now. What's bringing you contentment. I'd love to hear all of your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me today, and hope to see you again around here soon.